A quick message from our interview sponsors. Greenlane Digital, Australian internet and technology investors. Looking for great entrepreneurs to work with? Go to greenlanedigital.com.au. Hi, I'm Gareth Rose from iPitch.com.au. In this interview, I sat down with Mick Liubinskas, the co-founder of Pollenizer. Pollenizer is a startup incubator in Australia, and in this interview we chatted about focus, about finding co-founders, about testing, business models and much more. Here's the interview. Okay, well, welcome Mick.
Hey, Gareth.
So look, Pollenizer is one of the most exciting startups in Australia, but let's hear it from you. What is Pollenizer and what isn't it?
Good question. So Pollenizer is a venture development company. We're basically a serial co-founder of web businesses. Either internally we come up with ideas, but more traditionally a founder comes to us with an idea and says, hey, I've got a crazy wild idea to build a new web business. I've got all the depth of experience in the space, but I've never built a web business before, or I'm looking for a partner. And we say, great, let's form a brand new company, take some equity each, work out how we're going to fund it, and then both, get into the trenches up to our necks in the business and make it a success.
Okay.
So importantly, what we're not is a consulting firm or a fee-for-service agency. So you can't hire Pollenizer to work on your startup. We only do partnerships.
Yeah, and take equity.
Yeah, always take equity. Just because there's so much risk early on, and there's not much money, so we've all got to be vested in the long term, and that's it. If we turn a company from an idea into a success, we all benefit.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Yep.
So in that case, what does Pollenizer bring to the table, like when you act as co-founder?
Yep. So it's there's a team. So there's 18 people in Sydney and about 50 in southern India. So that whole team basically takes the slot of one co-founder, if that makes sense. And in that team are CTOs, product managers, designers, engineers, QA, all the bits and pieces you need to build. So that it basically gives the CEO a pre-built team that all they do all day is build web businesses, and they get to work together to build a brand new business. So that's sort of the nuts and bolts of it, but really a lot of the value is the fact that we do build web businesses every day. So we know what it's like to the challenges of getting started, working things out, why you should do manual testing before you go and build a product, how to build a product to be fast, moving and agile and be able to iterate, how to go and find customers, how to get out on the streets, literally, and find customers, and then how to go and make that business investor ready so you can knock on the door to the right investor and get the money you need to turn this idea into a real business.
Okay, so in a case where a startup comes on board and you co-found, in terms of like the actual strategy behind it, is it still yourself and Phil that get in there and sort of have those conversations and then sort of pass it to the rest of the team, or would be have you built the business up enough now so that some of the other guys are sort of taking the lead role?
It's Phil and I either Phil or I are involved in every business, but in terms of the day-to-day, there'd be someone in our team who works hand in hand, hour by hour, with the founder to make the business a success. And typically that initially is a customer development manager, which is, it's a new sort of title, doesn't really mean much. It's basically the person within Pollenizer whose job it is to create an investable business. So you've got a founder, you've got a little bit of money, you've got an idea, you've got no engineers to begin with. Now go out and prove there's a business there. So that customer development manager is the person, it's not me or Phil, but it's someone who works with them day in, day out. So for instance, it was Fleur on Spreets. She worked with the founders to write the first deals, get the first customers, do the first marketing, do the first content. She's in there day to day with Dean, just getting it done.
Yeah, okay.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, that answers that. Great. Okay, so Focus. Mr. Focus is your nickname. So look, when starting up, there's a ridiculous amount of different tasks and things to work on.
Yeah.
time's very limited. It's very easy to get to lose focus, or it's very easy to not know what to focus on.
Yep.
What is focus to you?
Well, it's something I traditionally failed at a lot. I thought I was focusing, but it wasn't until at Pollenizer we heard time and time again these founders telling the story of a business failing that I really realised the massive distraction of you get if you're not focused. The danger actually is early on in the business, there are too many opportunities. There's no one path to go. There's lots of things you need to actually get done. There's lots of different ways you can do it. And nowadays it's even harder because you can be a .com. You can go global. I can start a business. We can start a business in the next 5 minutes, put up on a site, have it a .com, and point ads to it from any country in the world. You can, but you shouldn't. So the distraction actually, where I got to in focus is, number one, it's just so frustrating that all these businesses are dying between idea and investment because of lack of focus. But number two, it's like why, how do we actually get them to be focused? And the reality is a startup is in search of a small business. You're trying to be a small business that works at a tiny level.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing to remember is you don't have to prove it at a big level first. Prove value at the tiniest level possible because you're going to do that the fastest and the cheapest and the easiest, and then you can grow it. But if you have a broad business with no depth, doesn't mean anything to anybody, but a small business with a lot of depth can grow. So we often, I still fail at this when I'm being an entrepreneur myself, and that's why partnerships are really important because you keep each other honest. Is you say, you come back, we're co-founders, you come back from a meeting and you say, this guy really loves it and all we need to do is add this one feature and we've got this big $10,000 a year customer. And that is a key juncture. It'll happen in every single new startup. You'll be distracted by something outside your focus that feels like a tiny step away, but there's 1,000 tiny opportunities like that which eventually kill you. So, that's focus for me. Is you've got to get focused and stay focused, and there's a bunch of things you've got to do to get there. But the key thing to keep in mind is depth first, breadth later.
Okay. Let's to delve further into that. Let's say it's at idea stage. So the founders checking that something.
Yeah, PC Authority. They really went to town on us back at Kazaa Day. So I'm turning the mug back around. Can't have a better sponsor.
No brainer, yeah. Where was I? Look, delving further into that.
Yep.
Let's say it's at idea stage. They're trying to now develop it out into a real business. What should the founder be focusing on?
The reality is you're not actually building your business to begin with. You're testing it.
Okay.
So what people think is have an idea, build the business, launch it, and test it. And you can actually test it before you build the business, even as small as naming it. So I remember talking to Chris Hitchen from GetPrice, and we're talking through about what the value of GetPrice, and we realised it's not about price. And he's like, well, that's the name of the company. It's called GetPrice. But he only realised that after really getting into the business. So even things like naming your business and what it is, you're exploring. The reason there's an opportunity in the first place is because you don't know how to do it. No one else has done it before. So what sort of audacity do you think you have of sitting there and saying, I know how I should build this business? So that's the first thing that we try to help people to understand is forget building the business. Let's just spend as much time as we can, well, sometime, not forever, but testing the business, testing the core assumptions. Then we'll know what business we need to build. And that's the big challenge. So we try to, when we run our boot camps, we try to really just get rid of the procrastination and over-analysis and business plan writing by getting people just to act, to do something overt outside the office walls, away from a whiteboard, which actually sees if anyone cares or not. That's what you've got to find out is, do people, you've got an idea, but do people really care? And there's two parts we always talk about. Value creation, which is, I always use Milky Ways as an example, would you like a Milky Way? And then value capture, which is how much do you care? And that's what a lot of people miss out. They come to us and they say, look, I've asked all my friends and they think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
But how much do they think it's a great idea? How much of a great idea is it? What's the strength of that value? So, would you like a Milky Way? Sure. $20, please. Actually, I don't want it that much. And that's the reality of startups. It's like, I've got this great idea to, if Spreet's launched and said, hey, get a voucher every day, you can save up to 5%. You'd be like, I don't care enough for 5%. You've got to give me 50% before I actually care enough to open an email every day. So that's what you're looking for is strength of value. Do people care?
Okay, so let's that makes sense in terms of focusing on that. We'll come back to focusing a little bit and delve further down into value creation, value capture, and testing that. So what you're saying is the first step is the idea. The second step is testing these two things.
Yep.
How does someone go about testing those two things?
One of my favourite sayings is there was a Turkish general that said, plans don't survive contact with the enemy. And the same thing with business plans. They don't survive contact with the customer. So you've got to, as quickly as possible, get out and see a customer. So one of our businesses that we're looking at experimenting is in the area of dog food. And one of our guys the next day turns up in a dog suit and he's out with two things. He had a survey and a receipt book. He was trying to take deposits for a business that didn't exist yet. Because he was out just talking to customers to see how much they cared about this new idea we had around dog food. So you've got to go out and talk to customers. But there's a bunch of ways you can do it. The simplest way we found is a Google ad pointing to a WordPress web page with a PayPal button at the other end. So here's an ad offering something or targeting people. Go to a page where there's an offer and pay us $10 and we'll do it for you. Now, even if you do that completely manually and non-scalably, that's the fastest way to test the idea. Does that make sense? So the alternative is to go and build the whole platform, then run an ad to it and find out no one wants it.
Yeah, okay. So, it does. Just to clarify though, let's say you've just got the idea and then you send people to the page and then you get them to pay for it. Are you saying you're actually trying to deliver something then and then test that or not necessarily? You might say it's
sometimes not. Like sometimes it's just, can you drive people to the page? Can you get their email address? Can you get them to give up something to prove that they care about the offer you're making? Okay. But oftentimes what we'll do is we'll actually provide the service manually to begin with. So say my service was, for $10 I'll find 10 holiday locations that match your criteria. Now, you could pay $10 and it's completely unprofitable, but it's to see whether people would even pay that I can go and create the value manually, put it in a PDF, shoot it back to you and you go, wow, that's fantastic. And then it's like, wow, we can automate it later. Like the product stuff, brilliant. There's some amazing people in Pollenizer and around developing amazing products. But the challenge is no longer around the technology. You can build pretty much what you want. The challenge is finding something that people will actually use and value. Yeah. There's a product that just launched on TechCrunch that if we used it, it would make our life a little bit better, but we're not going to use it because it just doesn't make that much of an impact. So that's that part of the key testing is just to see whether you can get an impact, get a response.
Okay, so it's those 2 points you need to test: value creation, value capture. That's what you're looking for.
Can you make someone an offer? And do they value it? Is there enough strength in the value that you can provide? And
you're trying to gauge how much they value it based on the price as well.
It's got to be something tangible. Yeah. It can't be just like, hey, we're doing a beta test around this. It could be just give us your email address, but it's pretty cheap to do. What we prefer to do to begin with, that's more marketing. What I prefer to do to begin with is to do something that's going to elicit a response. Like charging money is a really key scorecard. Is an easy scorecard to see whether someone cares. If someone's going to fork up over, we've had people pay deposits for this dog food business that doesn't exist. They actually want it so much. They're like, I don't care if it takes you 3 months. I'll give you $10, just for the hope that you may be able to provide this to me at some stage. Now that gives us some pretty good evidence to say we should build this, as opposed to, yeah, it sounds okay. I might try it if it's ready. I'll wait till it's ready. It's like, things are hard enough as it is. And that's a lot of times you build a business on that premise, is that surely people would like that. It just doesn't happen.
Okay, so coming back to focus here, we've got an idea, and what we focus on is that real valid testing based on the two we just said. Yep. Okay, so after we go through that process, and let's just say it gets validated, where does the focus then move to?
Well, it's key to know that we never get to 100% validation.
Okay, yeah.
I look for about 60%. Okay. If you go for 100%, you can spend a year on it. You're just looking for enough confidence to take the next step.
So it's sorted up. But what does that actually mean? I mean, what does 100% mean, and what does 60% mean? I mean, obviously we don't know exactly a percentage,
sure.
but what does it sort of mean in just everyday language?
I think if you rate the chance of success, it's like how confident are we that this is actually going to be something that's going to work. So early days, no matter how confident you are, you're really looking down the barrel of low percentage chance that it's going to work. So you just want enough confidence that you can deliver something and people value it enough that there's a chance to capture some of that value in terms of margin or profit. So the key thing is the principle that it's sort of above 50% confidence, but it's not 100.
Yeah.
Because 100 means you just waited too long, and below 50 means you haven't actually got enough evidence yet. Okay. So it's if you can convince a couple of other people who are going to put in some money that it's more than 60% likely of succeeding, you've done a pretty good job.
Okay.
So does that make sense? And it's just an internal measure that we have to sort of say, not 100%, not 50%. Get a little bit more evidence, a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, it definitely does make sense. Okay, so in terms of this, come back to focus here, we do this validation, we get 60% or whatever it is, enough to prove it there.
Yep.
I gather while we're doing that, and this is what it comes back to focus, we're not thinking about how to register the company, we're not thinking about, I don't know, just all this other stuff that isn't relevant, we're just thinking about this testing, getting that proving, and then once it is work or once it's proven enough, we're moving to the next step. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a big part about the confidence, so 60% confidence.
Yeah.
The other thing is you learn the lessons cheaply. So the amount of times that we've sort of gone, oh, what a great business idea, this is how it should probably run, and then we actually do a manual test, and we learn something fundamental. Like Friendorse, one of the businesses we're really driving at the moment, we had this, it's about local Q&A. And we thought initially that people are going to want to search for a plumber or, some basic stuff. But the thing we found is people want to ask complex questions because I can get the basic stuff from Yellow Pages or Google. So they didn't want to say a plumber. They wanted, I've got some old piping that freezes in winter and it's copper on one end, it looks like it's brass on the other, and I need someone to fix the valves. Is it a plumber? Is it who is that?
Yeah.
So we found that out after 48 hours of testing just through a Facebook group. So Phil just set up a Facebook group, Hornsby Local Secrets, and we sort of said, ask questions about locals, we'll answer them. And then really quickly, we just completely turned upside down this assumption we had about the questions they'd asked. So that's the other key part of the testing is it's the cheapest, fastest way to learn big chunky lessons about the business. So I've always loved the example of the guy who invented Netflix. I should find out his name. But one of the first things he did with the business was he got a DVD, put it in an envelope, and he mailed it to himself. And it sounds like a really stupid assumption, but he did it anyway. He tested one of the fundamental assumptions of the business that you can mail a DVD. And he learned, it's not an ordinary sized envelope. So just little things like that. It should be protected, otherwise it might snap. He just started learning really, really fast. He could have gone and hired some engineers and built out a big platform for ordering DVDs. But it's the fastest route to learning is just that manual testing. So it's tough for a lot of people to get, especially developers, because they can code.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a danger. But once you get the idea of it, you can really get hooked. It's great. It's really empowering because it stops you having the risks of, am I going to get this right? You start sort of getting to this paralysis point where you spend so long getting it right, you actually don't want to release it yet until it's perfect. Whereas if you just go and pick testing, there's small tests regularly, so you have lots of small failures, but it's on the way to success.
Okay, but there is a point though where we decide, okay, it's been tested enough for now.
Yep.
Like initially before at ID stage, we're ready to move ahead and build this out into something.
Yep.
What's the next step then after that?
So key again, you've learned the lessons, so you've got a better idea what to build. And then we go and build a product. Key thing here is we haven't decided to go and build a product to attack the whole world. We're still basically building a product to go for the niche. We're still looking for depth.
Yeah.
So we say we manually tested that niche, like a tiny niche, maybe 200 people value that. Now I'm going to build a product which is the smallest full solution. It can acquire customers, it can deliver a service, it can look after them and communicate to them. The basic as basic can be. And then we still go back to that same small segment and drive depth. Because that's what we want to take to an investor is we've got a product that's really lean. We've gone to one tiny segment and they love it and they're using it and paying for it. We think there's another 1,000 segments out there like that. If we got money, we could take it to those sectors. Because that's what an investor wants to... Investor doesn't want to get you when you've got a really broad, big product and take it out to the whole world, and invest. They want to basically invest when there's a small-scale thing working that they can take out to the whole world.
Okay, so for you, in terms, you've got this defined process that we've just started to describe here.
Yep.
Do you focus coming back to really ensuring that you stick to exactly that? You make sure it's tested properly, and then you just go build out this minimum viable product just based on the results of the test. That's what the focus is on, and then not extending out to all the other stuff that you could potentially focus on.
Yeah. Look, it's easy to say in theory, and we try to help out, try to help stay focused on that as much as we can. When you're in the trenches, it's harder. One of the things that really helps is having some external people in our team help you stay focused. So if you're the one in the trenches driving the business, you've got the distractions, you've got to try to make it happen, you've got a short amount of time, a small budget, you're working hard to make it happen. It's easy to get distracted and by shiny new opportunities, and it's good to have someone external to help you stay focused like that. So again, it's easier said than done, but that's definitely, we know that that's the fastest way and the cheapest way to get it done. And we've all got constrained budgets. What you underestimate a lot to begin with is how long it takes to get good. So if you and I start a brand new business tomorrow, even if it's a simple idea and if it's an area that we've got background in, no one's ever done it before and we've never done it before. So we've got to learn everything about that business. How to market it, how to manage it, how to administer it, how to do the legals around it. Like, there's so many things you've got to get good at. So by keeping it small, you spend more time getting good at it. Spend more time getting good at a small amount of things. Once you get it right, you can scale it. But if you're broad, it's really hard to get it right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting that. A question I do have is, a lot of the people listening to this potentially could be into their startup and they haven't done right, or they haven't done it.
Throw it out. Start again.
Well, are you just saying that, or are they? Let's just say that they've started up and it's not going as well as they'd like. A very, very common scenario. Whatever it is, the customers just aren't buying. It's just, it's not taking off.
Sure.
Can they somehow just sort of go back a little bit and sort of test it while they're still, a year in, or do they need to start again?
No, definitely. First thing is, no matter what happens and no matter how good we think we might be, we still face exactly the same feeling. 6 weeks into a manual testing process, when we start, we book a meeting 6 weeks in. It's a reality check meeting, because 6 weeks in, the enthusiasm's gone, we've had lots of failure, it's not quite working as easy as we thought, it's hard. So we have hey, we expected to be here. So in 6 weeks we expect to be a little bit despondent. So it's normal, it's okay. The thing to do is you can still actually make life simple by pulling out the focus into a lab-based environment. So say you built it to be full service and you're a .com and you're targeting the whole world. Pull out a landing page, simplify your offer down to one feature or one thing you're really selling, point some ads to that one page from one target segment, and have one outcome the other side. Now, if you think about the complexity of your business, if it's out there and if there's 100 different ways through your business, how are you going to get that right? So you've got to pull it out to a single funnel that you can work until it's right. So let that run. Sacrifice that. Like, if people come through there and they hate it, who cares? Sacrifice them. Pull into a lab environment. Test it. Just test that small lab environment. Then once you get it right, apply it to the rest of the website.
So can you give an example of what that might be? So just understand, we're talking about, you try and define whatever your core offering is, the thing that you think your customers really value, and it's not just all that other stuff that you include as a value add. You try and make an assumption or a hypothesis, this is what we think the customers really value, and then you do just what you said, you direct it all to that and then test that there, and then if that's right, then you can build everything out from that. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So you might have, again, the full service business sitting there, but you want to be able to test. You've got to bring it down to a very small set of things. Otherwise, it's invalid. How do you know what's right or wrong? Could you imagine looking at Google.com at the moment and if sales are dropping, what's the cause? There could be 100 causes. So, and that's the problem when you're sitting there with your business a year in. You're saying, well, it was a good idea. The product's pretty good. I don't know why it's not working. The reason you don't know is because it's too complex. You're not focused enough. So make it focused by pulling out a section. Say, okay, we're going to just pick one segment we're targeting, offer them one feature with one business model, and then we're going to get that right, and then we'll apply it. So you can do it. It just takes a bit of discipline, and you've got to be prepared to sacrifice everything else, because you've got to put all of your energies on this lab environment and test that. If you're distracted by looking after people, if you're looking after everyone who's coming through and it's not quite right, you're just diluting yourself.
So what about if the part that you just choose to test and put it into this lab environment isn't the important part? Like, I mean,
yep.
It would be difficult to work out potentially what is the important thing.
So don't take 10 weeks to work it out and then 10 weeks to test it. Go, you know what, I reckon it's going to be these guys, and I think we should offer this, and this should be the price. Test it in 24 hours.
Yeah, okay.
That's the beauty of that fast testing is, failing is not an issue because you haven't put all your eggs in one basket. You put a tiny egg in a tiny basket. You test it, and 24 hours later you have a response. When a lady came to one of our boot camps, and she just really got this testing thing. She was going to spend $100,000 building out this big business around SMS reminder service, and we showed her that through Google Ads, a WordPress website, PayPal, and Skype, she could basically run a manual version of her whole business. In a 3-week period, she did 45 variations of her business. 45 variations. Because all the levers are under her control. If she had to brief an engineer every time she wanted to change it, it would have been 45 weeks. But because she was able to actually go, let's try this price. No, didn't work. Let's try this price. So, a couple of weeks later, she's tested all these variations and she's found no strength. And she's like, wow, for $5,000, I just saved $95,000. I've got to go back to the drawing board. But people spend $100,000 because they think that's less risky, because they think you've got to build a big thing to get any information. It's just not true.
So what? To me, it seems like there's a difference potentially between B2C and B2B in that when it's B2B, it's potentially easier to define a problem as such. And I mean, it could be in this case B2C as well, but often it might be the case that people are searching on Google, I'm looking for whatever type of software you just say.
Yep.
It's workflow management software, whatever it is.
Yep. And
then you set up your Google, your ad, and you can take you can test from that. Let's just say it is B2C, and it seems like it's less of a thing that someone might be searching for.
Yep.
Is that when you go to something else like this dog example where the person goes out and they like what do you think B2C or B2B makes any difference there, or what other factors might influence how you test and how you go through that process?
Yeah, look, I think they are quite different, but the key, if people aren't typing in their problem into Google, then you probably are not onto a good thing.
Yeah,
because if they don't know they've got a problem, it's very hard to get people to move. You can't sit there and convince everybody that they've got a problem and to try your new product. For a brand new product with no momentum, no support, no community around it, then you have to, our rule is you've got to find someone who's got a problem, knows they've got a problem, they've got a budget or some sort of willingness to actually solve it. They're probably solving it in another way, but that's not very effective. And you've got to be able to reach them. So if you can't get them to down to the dog park and reach them, if you can't get them on Google, if you can't get them through partnerships, it's got to be a repeatable way. Otherwise, you can't test it. You can't just be like, well, all I need to do is do Super Bowl ads, and then everyone will come in. It's not repeatable. So it's really hard to test a business when that's not the case. So one of the very first things we do is that the keyword tracking to say, well, how many people are searching for what we're searching. Now, there's a big fundamental here to think. Most people actually think people are typing in your solutions, like I want workflow technology, I want workflow software, or I want but no one's typing in I want a daily deal about a local massage.
Well, yeah. So what might that be? Like, as in what
maybe I'm just not one, you need to think outside the box a little bit more, but
sure.
As an example of that, what might they be? Or if someone, tell me.
So for Spreets, it might be the actual individual thing. It's not about a daily deal. Somebody may be after...
It might be like a restaurant, savings, or whatever it is.
Exactly. So you get the specific things, but you've got to know how to intercept them and make them an offer which bridges that gap, is to get them to take that step to say, look, what you were after was a restaurant voucher, but what you actually really want is these amazing daily deals, get 50% off. Just put your email address in here and we'll send them to you. But there's a really interesting point there where do you actually just give them the deal straight away, or do you make them put in your email address to prove that they really want them? So see, there's if you put your email address in before you send the deal, there's a cost. And actually sometimes by putting a cost there, you increase the perceived value. But you've got to get the balance right. Every business might be different. Spreets might even be different to scoop on or jump on it, or you've got to work out what's right for you.
Yeah, and hence the testing and
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop. I've got about 5 accounts that get Spreets emails, and they test multiple emails each day. You don't just get it right once. So this is a moving environment. You've got to keep testing. So a culture of testing in your company is it's wonderful, because then Gareth comes in and goes, hey Mick, I've got this great idea, and I go and test it, and you're like, okay, I better go and test it. So, but if you have a culture of just ideas are the important thing, then we go, okay, we just keep pursuing ideas.
Mm. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about testing and metrics. I gather there might be, say, 3 parts to this. Just, off the top of my head, I'm thinking that you need to set up a scenario that you can test, and then you've got to actually go and do the testing and then measure the results. And then after that, you need to work out something to do with the results.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me more about this, and particularly, I guess, ongoing? You mentioned that you need to set up this culture of testing and keep doing it.
Yep.
How does a business sort of set up this sort of testing culture, and particularly the methods of testing and measuring and doing something with it?
Yeah. It definitely requires a lot of leadership, because there's a couple of key points. There's right at the start where you say, what's the priority? Do I know exactly how the business should be, so let's just build it because I'm so brilliant? Or do you say, I've got a great vision for it, I'm really excited about it, but let's test our key assumptions? So there's a really key leadership point there. Another important moment is after you try something, the guts to say, boy, that didn't work, let's retest. Because I had this idea for a business, I've written out a business plan, here's the roadmap, and then you get to the first hurdle and you smash right into it, you fall on the ground bleeding, and it's like, oh no, the business plan says we've got to add the next feature. It doesn't work. This is what happens so many times. We go, maybe if we add the next feature, the first feature will work now. It's like, it's just dumb. So there's a really key leadership point to say, no, let's do that again. You've got to recognise that the vast majority of web-based businesses will throw out a chunk of their technology regularly. They'll just build it, no, it didn't work, throw it out, try again, build it, throw it out, try again, because you've got to be able to iterate like that. And you don't build it to be robust and scalable and massive and perfect, because it has to be able to be torn down and try different things. So it's not about perfect code, it's not about building enterprise infrastructure. It's about flexibility is far more important than stability.
Yeah. Okay. So, lost my train of thought here for a moment.
Yeah, I took you on quite a tangent there. I know you asked about metrics and how you get into the zone, but leadership is really, really key. Investing in tools is really, really key. Try things like unbounce.com where you test landing pages. Get a small amount of metrics which you actually really, really, really want to track. Dave Kowalski's throwing table tennis balls at me, trying to distract me, but it's not going to work. I'm focused, Dave. Giving the tools is really, really important. Retrospectives. Every time you finish something, it's how do we go? What do we do next? One of the key things we do is whenever we start a test, we have some numbers to say what test you should do next. So it's really good to say, look, we don't always succeed at this, it's hard, but you say, we're going to test this. If we get less than 10%, we'll change something big. If we get more than 20%, we'll just retest. So the guys are distracting me again. It's not making for good video anyway. That's a really good thing to do, is then you actually have a culture of just getting into the testing. But tools and discipline to try it again. So.
Okay, cool. Look, coming back to this, so coming back to what we're talking about at the start of the interview, in the sense that you start off, you got an idea, you test it, you validate it to a certain degree, and then you get out there and build something quickly, this minimum viable product.
Yep.
And then test that, and then sort of really try and confirm that, okay, yes, we've built something of value here.
Yep.
In the way that you operate, is your next step then is the next step to raise capital and expand, or is there something else in between?
Well, you've got a base product, and you're not going to add much more significantly to that, and then you've got to go get traction. So we have a rough goal of $20,000 a month. If you can be making $20,000 a month revenue, it's enough to be that you're not just messing around, and you're not quite huge, but there's enough there to show there's a business. So some businesses are about a different kind of depth. It might be that there's 1,000 people that use this every single day. But there's got to be something tangible that an investor can say, there's something strong there. So $20,000 a month consistently is some strength. 1,000 people using it 3 times a week is some strength. It can't be just unique visitors or members, even just memberships. It's like, well, are they using it? Are they loving it? Will they walk across broken glass to get it? So the goal, when you've got an MVP, the customer development manager and the founder have got to hit the streets, and as Phil Moore says, go and sell the Lamingtons. You've just got to get out there and sell and sell and sell until you hit those numbers, and then we raise the capital. But we actually start the capital raising process right at the same time. So we sort of go through that process with the investors. So we introduce it, then we get some traction, and then as our relationship builds with investors, the traction builds, and then within 12 weeks we hope to have the money in the bank.
And they almost want to jump on board before it starts to take off too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to go. You want to cultivate relationships with investors. You don't want to go at the last minute and say, "Oh, you never heard of me, but I'm just hitting $20,000 a month revenue." Because investment's about having faith in your plan. So the way to have faith in your plan is to get them before that, tell them what your plan is, and then achieve it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they'll go, "Wow, they did what they said they were going to do, so they're probably going to do what they say they're going to do next."
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, great. Let's talk about business models for a moment. There's a decent trend at the moment for startups to build up a website with lots of traffic or users, for example, and then they think, oh, we'll just make money later. Whereas I understand that you're more focused on trying to have a business model from the start, and it sounds like, based on what you just said there, in terms of trying to hit these revenue targets of $20,000 a month. What's your take on that sort of, I guess, that method there? Is your focus more on a business model that draws in revenue, or
I don't think it has to necessarily be either or, but I certainly don't want to wait even 6 months to see if anyone cares. And that's the difference. So Friendors doesn't make any money at the moment, but we know that if someone asks a question, people who care answer it, and then the people who asked value value the answers. So we've got a strength there. We've got some great ratios of questions asked, questions answered, and how much people like that value. So there's enough evidence there for us to say people care about this. There's no money. Whereas Spreaks, day one we sold restaurant vouchers for the restaurant downstairs from Pollenizer, and day one we sold a couple hundred vouchers. We're like, wow, people are paying money for vouchers. So it's evidence of strength, which is more important. So if there's no business model, that's fine. But what you don't want to do is build up a big community and then wait, a couple of years and then go, great, let's see if we can monetize this, because it's a big risk.
Yeah.
I say to people, Simon Wright, who's behind Whirlpool, the forum, you can absolutely take that approach and build a great community around a service. But he spent 8 years cultivating it with not much monetization to get to a point where it's massive. If you can wait 8 years, fantastic, but most businesses can't. So test for strength and evidence that people care first. And if you've got the business model right there, then even better, because it's just another big tick in the box from the investor's perspective to say, great. You've at least got to have, for Friendors, it's not like we've got absolutely no idea how it'll monetize. We've got some great ideas how to monetize. We're just not, we're focused on a different bit of evidence.
Okay. What about transactional business models based compared to an advertising business model? I believe you guys focus more on transactional.
Yeah, I think people massively underestimate how big and active you need to be to get advertising. Again, it's just a lot of risk, and again, it's really hard to test strength. Sometimes we'll even, I call it like a reverse freemium model, where you actually charge initial users. Because sometimes your initial users are your most passionate. Charge them like a lifetime membership fee, $100. At least you've proven that some people have liked that. So, like the new Matilda guys, they nearly went out of business, and then they just went, well, we're going to go out of business unless you guys donate some money. And everyone donated money. It's like, you could have asked that to begin with. It's okay, and it's okay to do that. So most people just massively underestimate how much traffic you need to make reasonable money out of advertising. So I just, I don't like relying on it as a model. I just think it's a cop-out as well. It's like, are you really creating that great value? Then you're probably too far from the cash register to really capture any of it. It's like, oh, we'll just slap ads on it, that's going to be the answer. But it really just rarely works.
Yeah, okay, great. What about co-founding? I mean, obviously you co-founded these businesses, and I gather I know you do it either with a single co-founder or potentially a team of, other founders.
Yep.
What can you say about choosing co-founders? So, I guess from your perspective, or just general advice that someone's wanting to start a business and they're looking to co-found with someone?
Yeah. It's really important. I think I've been massively helped and supported, and I couldn't have done it without Phil as the co-founder of Pollenizer. We are a startup to build startups, so we're 3 years old now, so not quite back in the early days, but couldn't have done it without Phil. And we really complement each other in a lot of ways. It's interesting in terms of, I think you've got to complement each other in terms of skills, but match in terms of values, principles, and character. The way Phil and I approach problems, the way we deal with challenges, it's very similar. So that works really well for us. So I think you've got to think about that. Don't just pick someone because they're your best friend. Phil and I worked together at Kazaa. We were in the trenches. We got sued by nearly $1 trillion worth of companies. We went through some fire together, so we sort of came out the other side. That helps that I think he's a tech guy, but I used to code, and he was a theatre director, so he's not a hardcore tech guy. So we're a bit diverse as well. So just really think about it. It is a marriage. Phil and I refer to each other as our other wives. Because you're spending a lot of time with these people and a lot of stress. Making money doesn't make things that easier. It makes it hard a lot of times. Success makes it doesn't, it's hard as well. So you have a lot of challenges. So really, really be careful about it. The other thing to think about is don't base the equity on where you are now. Base the equity breakup based on what you're going to do together to build a business. So if you say, oh, let's start a new business 50-50, what happens if I slack off? What if I take a full-time job? What if you put in the money? There's so many variables. So the best way, Seth Godin's got a good blog post about this, and try to add it in the notes, but it's basically saying, work out what roles need to be done over the next year for the business, what equity each one should get, and whoever does those gets that equity or shares in it.
So it's primarily within that initial startup phase, such as the first year or maybe two.
Typically, something's going to change at that point anyway, in terms of other investors, other partners, etc. So, but just start with a parachute, because things get hard and things change. So don't, everyone probably saw Social Network and saw the challenges around equity partnerships and things. It's easy to say, well, why don't we all take a third each? But that's worth thinking about.
Yeah, okay, great. In terms of your bootcamp process, I understand basically you hold your boot camps, and then from that you select entrepreneurs that you want, and ideas that you want to partner with. So I imagine there's two parts to this. There's sort of like the idea, and then there's the entrepreneurs, or the entrepreneurial team. To you, what's more important, the idea or the entrepreneur?
Well, firstly, the boot camps are a way for us to help all founders who are starting new businesses do a better job. So we teach focus, the process, how to do manual testing, how to find your focus segment, lots of tools and things and activities you can do. It's very hands-on and practical. Definitely out the other side, there are some projects that work for us, but we of companies that come to boot camp, we would work with 1 out of 20. So it's far more about an education process, because for Pollenizer, the more great entrepreneurs out there being focused and doing great businesses, the Australian community is growing fast, but it still needs more effort. So it's not a filtering process, but certainly we get to meet good entrepreneurs that way.
Okay, so the ones that pitch to you, though.
Yeah, in terms of your question, absolutely the founder, because the idea will change. The idea is most likely wrong. There's so much to learn. The area that's in, that's important. We want to invest in an area that's got some potential and growth. We want to think that there's a base idea we can start with and go and test, and that the idea is testable within a short time frame. So we had one group of people said, and then all we need is legislation change. And I was like, we can't test a business based on legislation change or building a particle accelerator, or it's got to be testable. So then it comes back to the founder. Are they someone who can be a CEO at the start when you've got no money, no customers, and just get it going? And can they be a CEO we can put in front of investors and say, back this guy because he's going to build a great business for you? Is he a Dean McAvoy? Is he a guy that's going to hit the streets and sell and run a good team and drive a hard bargain and get the job done?
So tell me more though. More trade stuff. What more specifics? What are you actually looking for?
There's a lot of N's, A and D. You've got to have a big enough vision to get everyone excited and to sell it to investors. But then you've got to go back to execution and do what can you do today to make the business get going. So Dean had a big vision for Sprees, but then he went and pre-sold some vouchers to some restaurants. He just got on the phone and sold them, and then wrote contracts and just did the things he needed to do. You've got to have a really thick skin, because you're going to fail time and time again. You're going to fail so consistently. And that's why another reason you have to have a big vision is because you wouldn't get through to it if you wouldn't get through all the failure if there wasn't a big vision on the other side. You've got to be strong with team. You've got to be a strong leader and a strong manager. You've also got to you've got to be willing to confront things, because to begin with, there's like staying focused. Someone knocks on the door. I said this to Dean. Dean, there's some guys, really good partnership opportunity for you guys, and he went, "No, we're focused on this." He turned it down flat to my face, and I was a co-founder with him in the business, and I know some stuff, and it was a pretty good opportunity. He went, "No, focus on this. Thanks very much. Later." And you've got to admire the guy for that. It's a lot of persistence. You've got to have the balance of listening and stubbornness, because you've got to listen and take it in, but then you've got to know how to process it and get it done. Say no. Again, that's a lot of times. So there's some key characteristics around that.
What about things like, I guess, negative character traits?